If you are a new business owner, here's 5 tips to prevent you from going broke in the first 36 months. What's up, y'all? Prince Donnell. I'm the founder of Jumping Jack Tax Franchise. We are a multi-service franchise offering personal small business tax prep, bookkeeping, life insurance, tax planning, and we currently have 20 franchises across the country right now, which I'm really excited about. And also, I'm the founder of Kangaroo Heroes, these amazing kangaroos that you see right there in the back. Kangaroo Heroes is an NFT project that I recently launched about 3 months ago, and things have been absolutely amazing. So, with that said, I definitely have some experience, about 5 to 6 years experience when it comes to small business, when it comes to finances, talking to small business owners and seeing about 80% of them going broke in the first 36 months. And I've come to find a trend of why one would go broke, and I found a trend of why one would have a level of success, because most small businesses, they say about 86% of small businesses make less than $100,000 per year to begin with. And then about 25% of small businesses fail in the first 12 months. I want to say 50% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years. And then about 75 to 80% don't even make it to year 10. So when you think about that, if you're watching this video right now, there is a 2 out of 10 chance that you'll make it past the 10-year mark. That sounds amazing, right? That's why the risk is really there when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I tell everybody, hey, make sure you know and understand yourself and know what you're getting yourself into, because if you're not willing to die for this, if you're not passionate about this business stuff, this may not be for you. And there's nothing wrong with you now working within someone else's organization who's taking on all of the risk, but yet you are utilizing your skill sets to help grow that company. So it's important to note. But for those of you that are willing to take this task and you're brave and you're like, yo, Don, I'm in. Let's do it. I want to go over 5 things that I've learned to prevent you from going broke with your small business. Let's start with number 1, which is a mindset thing. The first thing you need to understand is that a great year does not mean you have a great business. I'll say that again. A great year does not mean you have a great business. So many times I meet entrepreneurs who I'm handling their finances, and they had a great year, monster year. You know, they made over, the first 2 years, they were a little slow. Then they get to year 3, they cross over 100K, over $500,000, or some get to that $1 million mark. And since they've never made that kind of money before in their lives, they're like, wow, I made it. Right. And rightfully so. You have some reason to celebrate a bit, but hear me clear. You didn't make it. Right. You had a great year. Now, what makes a great business is one that builds a foundation over the course of years, multiple years, and they're hitting that number, that same revenue number, that same profit number, or higher year over year, meaning that the year over year growth percentage is always going up. That's a great business. A great year is simply what it is, a great year. So as an example, in the pandemic, a lot of e-commerce stores had a great year because everybody was home. They were sitting on their couch. So if you ran Facebook ads, or if you put out good content on TikTok or Instagram, your sales were coming in, and you probably had the best year of your life in 2020. And then comes 2021, and then now 2022 with everything that's going on politically, and now your sales have declined by 50%. But yet you're still trying to maintain the new lifestyle that you're living on a 50% decline on your business. And I've seen it happen often, and you have to adapt this mindset that, okay, I had a great year, but that does not mean that I'm going to go out and flex and quadruple down on my personal lifestyle and scale up the brand when it's not prepared for that. You had a great year. Now it's time for you to prove to yourself that you can do it in year 2 and better, and year 3 and better, and then year 4 and better. So when you look back 5 years from then, you say to yourself, wow, we've grown from that year, that great year, and we've done it 5 times over. Now you know that you're starting to have the making of a good business. And then with a good business, you now have the confidence to say, let's continue to scale, because I know that we can keep going up from here because the data tells us that that's the case. So adapt this mentality. A great year does not mean you have a great business. Which leads me to number 2. Stop celebrating and focus on scaling the brand. The next thing I see happen with entrepreneurs, just based off of rule number 1, is that they had a great year. And the reason why they can't do it again in year 2 and year 3 is because they're celebrating on the past. Right? A lot of entrepreneurs are still, like I said, e-commerce entrepreneurs are still in 2020. Like, yo, but that was the glory day. We did, 20,000 orders. We did $3 million. That was the glory days. You're living in glory. We're in 2022 now, right? If your business hasn't made that since. Your sales haven't been right since. The business model hasn't been flowing since. Your cash flows declined. You celebrated too early, fam. You didn't keep your head down, and you didn't continue to focus on innovating that brand. Because in this first 10 years, innovation is key. It's part of the reason why when I started with Jumping Jack Tax, we moved into becoming a franchise. And then when we moved into a franchise, I started launching different services underneath that franchise, from our accountability program to life insurance to now branching off into more of an NFT-based project to build a community. It's innovation, right? And innovation is what creates that year-over-year growth in those first 10 years, because you have to start attracting different audiences to grow the brand. But if you're stuck with the same one, then you're not going to get the growth that you need. So stop celebrating, put your head down, and focus on building aggressively, because you only got a certain window of time where you have people's attention to be able to drive new business before somebody else either comes in, they duplicate your strategy, and then they have enough money to deploy and just blow you out of the water. Where I believe that happened with Oreos. There was a sidebar. For those who don't know, look at the history. I cannot remember the name of this company, which is crazy, but they're the ones who originally started the Oreo type of brand. It wasn't called Oreo at the time. It was another name. And it was actually real, real cookies with with that what is it? What's inside of the cookies? Yeah, the cream filling inside of the cookies, right? But then Oreos came about. They deployed some marketing. They had a great name, and from there, boom, took off. The other company, history. We don't even know their name. This is the reality of what you signed up for in business. And you got to understand, the quicker you move as far as aggressively innovating, this will cement you in your niche market, so that now you begin to expand out and again continue to build a great business. Number 3, flatline your expenses for the next 36 months and also track your cash flow over those 36 months. What do I mean by flatlining my expenses? Meaning that on a personal level, my personal expenses as the founder, and even when it comes to your executive team, people who are at the top of the level, that needs to all flatline for 36 months. The reason being is because, remember, let's take it back to number 1. Just because you had a great year doesn't mean you had a great business. You need to flatline for 36 months because it's going to be a protector in the event that you see a downturn in the business in those 36 months. What ends up happening with many entrepreneurs is that they have a great year, and instead of flatlining their expenses, they're beginning to build more personal expense on top of that, where now the business has to suffice for those personal expenses and salaries and heavy payroll costs and a bunch of other things now, rental spaces and all these different things. And now you're pressured to now have another great year to be able to suffice for the increase in personal and business expense. Flatline your expense. So for example, if you're in an office space that you've been in for 2 years and the business exploded double that production, it's not time for you to say, all right, it's time for me to move to a better office space that I love because now we can afford it. No, you can't afford it. You had a great year. That doesn't mean you have a great business. Stay where you are. Stay in that office space, grind it out, keep those expenses flatline, and continue to build until you work your way out of that office to where it forces you out. Not because you just want to get out because of the fact of, I just feel more comfortable now because we got the cash. Absolutely not. Deploy that cash back towards the business so you can double down. It also doesn't mean that if you currently are in a certain apartment that you're about to upgrade your lifestyle to a new apartment or to a new car or to all these different things. No, flatline. Stay exactly where you are. Do not move, and track those cash flows over 36 months. Over the next 36, you should be looking to see year over year growth, right? 5%, 10%, like those are the 15, 20% growth year over year. And that's going to tell you at that point when it's time for you to now move out because you're able to predict the growth that's actually happening. Flatline your expenses, track your cash flows and your profitability over that 36 months. Number 4, pump at least 70 cents on every dollar back into the business. So 70 cents on every dollar is 70%. That all needs to flow back into the business, whether that's operational cost, innovation, marketing, developing new product or service lines. I don't care what it is. 70 cents on every dollar needs to go back in that business in some way, shape, or form. And you need to figure out how on that 30 cents you can operate your personal lifestyle, right? The business always comes first in everything that you do. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some people who follow the profit first system where you're taking your profits off the top and then the business takes what's left. Now, my philosophy is much different, is because, the profit first system to me is for an individual who's not trying to build the next Apple, right? If you ain't trying to build the next Apple, Amazon, Google, or some sort of big corporation, yes, take your profits off the top, let the business survive off the rest. But in this scenario, I'm trying to build the next Jumping Jack Tax franchise, right? A franchise that has 500 locations, a franchise that's at the top of the game where we're building out our market share. And with that, every penny counts in order to build that, because there are other brands out there right now who have 1,000 times more money than we do. So with that, I have to overcompensate by putting 70 cents on every dollar. And you have to do that as well if you have intent to build that next brand that's going to be big. If you try to take profit first, then it's going to be a slower effect. So in my philosophy, 70 cents on every dollar goes back into the business if you really want to grow and be aggressive in this process. And last but not least, number 5, do not rack up personal debt such as buying a house within the first 36 to 48 months of this business. Do not. I've seen this happen on many occasions with a lot of entrepreneurs who say, yo, I'm going to go buy me a home. Now you bought the home. You now have a home loan that's out for whatever the mortgage may be, PMI, homeowners insurance, and now you're in a full-blown 30-year loan. Full-blown 30-year, and that's sure, ownership, right? Cool. You actually don't even own the house until you pay it off. So the bank actually owns that house. With that, though, it's a deeper thing that comes from that. What happens if the business does take a downturn? You're now stuck in a 30-year loan on a downturn of the business, and now you're forced to have to figure out how to still cover that loan. And now you're forced to have to rob the business to be able to pay for that home loan because the bank wants their money. The difference, though, is in that first 3 to 5 years, if you were renting out, you don't really have any connection to the apartment complex. You can always leave. You can always move about. You don't know where the business is going to take you, whether you got to downsize, whether you need to move to a different who knows what you got to do. But at least you have the freedom and the flexibility from a rental aspect to be able to move as you please and not be stuck to a real life 30-year loan that you cannot get away from. So in that first 3 to 5, don't do it to yourself. Don't rack up high personal debts, such as a house, which is a huge responsibility, or any other high ticketed debt item. Stay away from that. Now, don't get me wrong. I think that in certain scenarios, having a business loan set up for cash flow reasons, I think in certain scenarios is cool, but I'm even to the place where I don't even like business loans. For example, Jumping Jack Tax, we are debt free. We have no business loans that are outstanding. We've been building this organically, utilizing 70 cents on every single dollar in order to grow. Now, don't get me wrong. Could money from the outside that's put into the business help us grow a lot faster? Sure. But am I ready for that? Do I believe that I'm ready for that? No. And then more importantly, what are the risks that are involved in doing that? So as opposed to keeping this 100% organic and keeping that out and being able to build, at a very nice pace and understand exactly what's going on at all times. So you got to think about those things. But from a personal level, do not do it because now you're stuck. So take all of those things into account. Take those top 5 things that I said, because remember, about 80% of small businesses are going to fail within the first 10 years. And I don't want that to be you, right? But if you utilize all 5 of these steps, you're going to have a better chance of staying in business, of operating, of growing a lot quicker while all of your competitors just continue to fall off who are new small business owners because they're just not following that concept. And with that said, it's your boy Prince Donnell, founder of Jumping Jack Tax. Welcome to my channel. If you like this video, please like, comment, share, subscribe. We're about to hit 200K subscribers on YouTube right now, which is crazy. It's awesome. Watch back all the rest of my previous videos where I talk about LLC versus S Corp, the 5 bank accounts that you need for your business, when not to start an LLC, sole proprietorship. I got so many videos, and I plan to drop more now that we just hit 200K, because we're on a roll, and I want to be able to provide y'all with as much knowledge as I possibly can and take y'all through my journey as I'm going through this entrepreneurial phase of leadership to taxes to all types of crazy stuff that happens in business, man, that keeps me stressed out every day of the week. But y'all are going to go through it with me. Subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for the next video. Peace.